According to some research, 31% of Americans feel guilty or ashamed after eating. Nearly 1 in 3 people. And I'll be honest, I've been one of them. But I just spent 2 weeks in Greece eating bread, fresh olive oil, and freshly baked croissants. But something in me kind of shifted, and I want to talk about what that was.
We're doing the Greece debrief. Traveling abroad is a different way of life, especially in Europe, where everything just feels a little bit slower. It's a different way of experiencing the world, looking at food, and your body. So, we have a lot to say about Bree's trip and what travel reveals about where you're at with yourself.
Welcome back to the Overthinking Podcast, a show for women navigating fitness and health in a world that makes everything way more complicated than it needs to be. We're your hosts. I'm Bree.
And I'm Kelsey.
And if you're here, chances are you're tired of overthinking every fitness trend that demands us to shrink and has us feeling like we were failing at a system that never wanted to see us win.
This podcast is your space for honest conversations and evidence based guidance so you can stop spiraling and finally live the healthy, full life you know you deserve. Today is all about how to travel without letting it become a thing you have to recover from. So, I want to talk a little bit about what it felt like to just like fully exist because I know that you're Brie, like a very high achieving, you've got a lot going on, you have like 10 sticks in the fire at any one time because you're a bad bitch that can handle it all. But like that line between taking care of it all and like then allowing yourself to fully relax is such a hard thing to do. What was it like to just like let go?
I feel like the most important thing I can say about letting go was my relationship to feeling anxious. Like,
Mm.
you know that feeling when you're like, you get a little bit edgy and you're like, ugh, I don't know what to do. Like,
Yep.
I can get that way. And then there's some times where I can pull myself out of it, right? I'm regulated. I can do my 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I can do my breathing, my long exhales. I can change location. Like, I know all the things. But sometimes I get so anxious and stressed out that it feels unescapable and I like cannot get out of it. And so that's been something I've been struggling with truly really for the last year and a half.
I think
And
we all struggle with that a little bit.
yeah,
Trying
yeah.
to manage it all from our professional lives to our household chores to taking care of yourself. It just feels like a lot.
It feels like a lot. And so when I would wake up in the mornings on like more stressful days, of course, cortisol is the highest in the morning, but I wasn't doing I think the right morning routine for me. And so I'm starting to look at what did fully existing like look like? Well, it started in the morning. It started with my mindset in the morning. Like when you think about, oh, what's going on for the day, you check your calendar, you check your emails, check your texts, and then that kind of sets you up for the day is whatever you saw in those emails, texts, whatever.
Yeah.
But what was different about vacation was I would wake up in the morning and there wasn't any pressure to do anything. There was no pressure to text anyone back. There was no pressure to respond back in an email. Everyone knew I was on vacation. So it wasn't even about, it was about like how I perceived myself, right? I was like, oh, I can really just go and read my book in the sun for 30 minutes before I do anything. And I'm very caffeine sensitive. So if I have caffeine on an empty stomach, I am surely going to have a panic attack. And so without the rat race of like, oh my God, got to have energy for my first meeting and got to make sure my brain's working, like that whole pressure was so much lower. So
Yeah.
every morning I'd wake up slowly without an alarm to the sun, go to the front of the boat, read 10 pages in my book. And everyone says, like, read 10 pages. I'm like, who has even time for 10 pages? Like, so then I would read 10, maybe 20, maybe 30 pages just until I felt satisfied. And
Yeah.
that is what the huge difference was how I tackled the morning. There's something beautiful about reading specifically. Like, you can't be texting and reading. You can't be talking to somebody and reading. You have to be sitting there, seated with a book and your focus on it. And as somebody with ADHD and who does live a very chaotic life, just the simplicity of having my head in a book without the anxiety of what's going on my phone, what's going on my email, that was really it. That was the whole I'd pay thousands of dollars for that moment again.
Yeah. And maybe it's like if you want to bring some of these tools home, right? Like you don't get less responsibilities just because you go on vacation, but maybe it's like you set your alarm 30 minutes earlier so that way you do have 15, 20 minutes where you can like journal, you can read 5 pages or however many it takes you in so much time. That becomes the new morning ritual to set yourself up instead of immediately opening your emails and just being like, shit, this is all the things that I have to do. And then your brain is already conditioned to like go, go, go when you
That's a
could be
great
like
point.
calm, cool, regulated, and then you approach your emails.
That's a great point because when you are in your stress hamster wheel, taking 5 minutes to read feels absolutely impossible because of all the other pressing things we have waiting for us. But
Yeah.
when I was on this boat in the middle of the fucking island and middle of the ocean, the only thing I had to do was figure out what I was gonna have for lunch. So there wasn't this, like, pressure of what's next, that I truly could get 5, 10 minute actions done.
Yeah.
I wanna also say one other thing.
Okay.
Because so much of my life with coaching and these businesses is so much, like, externally focused, like, trying to, like, "What's gonna be the best way I can give this to somebody else? What's the best way I can respond? What's the best way I can show up?" Without having even that too, not even the messages and the emails, but just the expectation of having to have the best answer for someone, I was able to, like, really channel that focus on myself, and so I know we'll get into a lot of the body image stuff, but that was a big piece of it, was the fact that the things that I was doing was 100% just for me. And if you look at, like, your life and your day to day, and you think about how many things in my life are for somebody else, right? Picking up the kids, making lunches, cleaning up the house, like, going to work, answering emails, all of this is externally focused. So then when I got to have literally 24 hours of just, like, myself, it felt like I could actually make better decisions. I felt like I could regulate my emotions better. Like, when something pissed me off, I was like, "Oh, wait, that's not that big of a deal." And then even,
Mm,
like, little things that piss me off, like, "What should I wear? What should I order?" Like, little things like that were just like, "Oh, it literally doesn't matter."
yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
so beautiful.
You have like rubber armor. You're like, well, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I did have the opportunity to say, "That'll matter at another point."
Yep, not today.
Not
So
today.
if you followed Brie at all on her socials, you saw how amazing this trip looked. Looked like you guys were on a boat. So tell us what you did, where you stayed, how many nights you were there.
So, I went with my partner, and she is very well traveled internationally. I'm pretty well traveled, like, growing up, going on trips with the family, but, like, we would stay in, like, all-inclusive, like, Moon Palace resorts. We weren't, like, exploring cultures, you know? And so we spent 10 days in Greece, and she kinda did, like, the big planning, like, decided, like, our general itinerary, and then I was more of, like, the boots on the ground person where, like, I would choose where we went to dinner, what bars, like, um and so that was, like, a good division of responsibilities. But we were there 10 days total, and we spent 7 of those days on a private catamaran where it was just us 2 and 1 skipper named
That sounds
Giannis.
bougie as hell.
But to be honest, it was a lot cheaper because Greece is I mean, traveling in Europe is just expensive, right? Like, and the euro to dollar conversion is not in our favor. So, like, you think it's $40 when it's 40 euros, but it's really 50, like
Mm,
that kind of stuff. And then the
yeah.
other part that saved us being on this private boat was when you're in the islands, you have to get these transfers. So, like, a ferry here and then wait and then get on the ferry. And then, like, we saw people getting on and off ferries with cars or just walking on ferries, but it was like a whole thing, like massive people exiting this ferry. I'm like, I don't want to deal with that. So I'm so glad we did it. And it honestly wasn't that much more expensive. I don't even think it was more expensive. I think it was cheaper given all like the ferries and hotels and Ubers and all of that. We would
Do you
just
know where
literally
she found like the boat?
no, but I am happy to provide Giannis's contact information because
Yeah.
I would just go directly to him. He was so cool. He was like this Greek dude about our age, super tall, and his like hobbies are just like all water things. So he
I
had a
love that.
drone. We had a dinghy on the back of the boat, so he could like drop us off at different islands that didn't have docks. Um, but really, like, it was great to have this local person who could give us the insight of like the cultures at different, islands. We even went we even spent 2 different days at 2 different local only islands where, like, nobody was there. Like, I don't know if it was a communication issue between us and Giannis, but, like, He's like, "Here you go." And so we like walk onto the
Bye.
island. We're like, "Doo-doo-doo," like gonna go find a restaurant. There's nothing open. It's like 2 weeks before busy season starts. So like no one's working.
That's the best time to go to Europe, really, is like Euro summer when
Yeah.
there's no tourists because nothing is really open. So you just have to like be and like
Yeah.
enjoy nature.
Absolutely. And so between like going to different islands, I'll give you the itinerary. So we flew into Athens. We stopped in Amsterdam, which was like very brief, super easy. Like our customs was like a breeze. And then we went to Athens and we used our Amex like point credit hotel credits. So we got to stay in a super bougie hotel. And we loved it so much that we booked it on the other end of the trip as well. But then we got onto the boat. We flew from Athens to Mykonos, and at Mykonos is when we, like, got onto the boat, slept there that night, woke up, and then we started, like, touring around. So the first 2 day like, we didn't even see Mykonos that time. So we went to these, like, 2 random, like, incredibly blue water spots,
Mm.
and Giannis flew his drone, so we, like, jumped in the water, and he, like, took us to these, like, little coves, and, I was, like, flipping all around. I was, like, flipping off the dinghy and jumping
You
in.
played mermaids.
I played mermaids. I was the mermaid, okay? I played so many mermaids. My sister sent me a text of a screenshot from the reel I posted. She's like, "I haven't seen this cackle in years." She's like, "You are experiencing joy again."
What bliss.
Such bliss. Everyone needs a little game of mermaids in their life, okay?
Absolutely.
So we were on the boat for 7 days total. The catamaran on either side had, like, these valleys. So, like, you had, like, 2 rooms essentially on the front and the back, and then 2 bathrooms on either side. So we were on one side, Giannis was on the other, and then in the middle, there was, like, the kitchen, all that, the deck.
Common area.
Yeah, common area, and then we went to, um, Antiparos first, and Antiparos is, like it's a smaller island off of Paros that is, like, again, very local vibes feeling. Then we went to Paros, and if I could have spent maybe, like, 1 or 2 more days there, I would have,
Yeah.
and I'm talking to a couple people who are going to Greece this summer. Paros is fucking it. It is so cool, and
What's
then we
cool
went
about
to
it?
it just has, like, a very, like, fisherman town vibe where there's, like, a lot of cool restaurants and bars and, like, it looks like it's designed for, like, our aesthetic, right? Like, very
Mm.
white and clean and, not like white people, like, white walls and these white walls and, like, cobblestone streets were, like, lined with white paint and, the blue domes and
So
lots of,
very
like
quintessential when someone thinks of Greece.
it was very quintessential when people think of Greece, yeah, and then the other part about Paros is that it's a bigger island, so there's a couple different sides of Paros that you could explore and kind of feel like you're on different islands, where some of the other islands were a little bit so small that you could literally walk across and not have that experience. But yeah, then in Mykonos, we were there for the opening day of summer, so we went to Scorpios, which is a very well known, like, story kind of, like, massive bar, and had the best night, got to see a little DJ, um, and then, yeah, then we ended up going
You
back to
guys had
Athens.
some party time?
Yeah, we had, like, 2 party nights. One was planned and one was a little impromptu, but the party night in Mykonos really was legit, like, it's cool,
That's
and it was
awesome.
the first night, so the line to get in was literally 2 miles long, but of course, Giannis, our guy, pulled some strings for us and was able to get us in, so we had an absolute ball. The other night, we were in Paros, and we went to this cute little, like, corner bar where the bartender, like, knew our name, and she was so excited we were there and brought us different
Aw.
martinis, and then we ended up, like I mean, Alex, my partner, is very social, very outgoing, like, any person that walked by that she could have a conversation
They're a
with, she
friend.
would. Yeah, they're like besties. So by the end of this, like, 2-hour kind of happy hour that we had on our last night, we had, like, 6 boys around us that she's just like, like, talking to them and whatever, so we ended up having a fun night to end the trip, which was great, but
Awesome.
the thing that I wanna talk about the most is the food.
Yeah, tell me about the food because I know you've been all over Europe. You've gone to Italy, I think Spain, right?
France, a long time ago.
So you've been to a few places all over Europe. Tell me how like the food differs in Greece.
Yeah, so the big Italy trip I did 2 years ago, I feel like I was a little bit like my gut is totally tolerant. Like I'm gluten and dairy intolerant. So when I go to Europe, I'm like, oh, it's different. I can have anything I want. Which in Italy was kind of true. In Greece, it wasn't as true. Like I definitely had some GI stuff pop up, but the food itself in Greece, everyone talks about the Mediterranean diet and why it's, the pinnacle diet because it, one, it's high in anti-inflammatory foods. Two, it's actually very high in fiber as well.
And
So,
protein.
and my girl, protein and fiber, and those are the things we think about when we travel. So it did make eating for me specifically quite easy. There wasn't a whole focus on bread. There wasn't a big focus on like desserts really. But most of the meals were like kebabs and some mixed veggies and a side salad and some rice, which is like what I eat at home anyways.
Right, right. It feels a little more natural to our typical status quo of like protein, veggie, rice. That's my jam too. When we went to Italy, it was great. Like everyone is like, "Oh, Italy has the best food." Hard disagree, honestly. Like
Yeah.
pasta's good, right? But like we are such like a meat-centric culture here in the United States and definitely within the fitness community that like when we go to Italy or when we went to Italy, it was like, here's your pasta with like prosciutto. And I'm like, but where's like I need like a 5-ounce serving of protein to make
Yeah.
this a meal.
This prosciutto is it's as thin as paper. And I'm going to
One
have
one sheet of
one
prosciutto.
sheet of prosciutto. Okay, also, why is prosciutto so goddamn chewy? Like, I can't even get through one piece without being like, "Okay, I'm done."
Yeah.
So, back to the food stuff. I love that you commented on that because Greece really did feel like a very small departure from how we usually eat, right? Protein and a fiber is always our base for pretty much every meal, and I was able to do that. Eating octopus every day, I know this is a
Mhm.
little bit of like a hot topic for some people. They're like, "Don't eat it," but I loved it, and it was great, and
Yeah.
the thing that was kind of interesting about the food too is there's olive oil for different things. Like, they cook with olive oil, they have a different type of olive oil for drinking in the morning. Everyone starts their day with a tablespoon of olive oil, and then there's a
Just
different
take
olive oil.
120 calories to the dome.
Right, I'm like, "Is that before my workout, after my workout? When am I gonna put this in there?"
We don't recommend doing that, by the way.
We don't, but the idea is interesting. It's like getting some anti-inflammatory food, some fuel to your brain, whatever. But I was thinking the hardest part for me was wanting to try everything. Like I wanted to like go like I wish my stomach was bigger. I wish I had more meals to eat because
Mm.
I wanted to try so many things.
Yeah.
Um
I wanna know about the best sweet treat that you had on this trip.
okay. I have 2. One was actually in Greece, and there was this bakery on Paros, starts with an R, but it was huge. Like, you had every single type of pastry and dessert you could ever want. Um, I almost went wet and wild and was like, "I'll never have this again. I need to get one of everything." But then I just got a, little I'm, like, salivating talking about it. This little, like, pistachio truffle.
Mm,
It was kind of like a Dubai chocolate, but a little bit bigger. It
hmm,
was like a truffle Dubai chocolate kinda thing, and that
okay.
was so good. The
Yeah,
second thing was and I love pistachio, it was everywhere, like, pistachio butter I brought home, like, that was, like, the one souvenir I brought home.
that sounds awesome.
When we were stuck in Amsterdam, I had the best fresh, warm chocolate croissant,
Hmm.
and it was so divine. I had it with, like, a little cup of coffee right as I was about to board. It was, like, the last kind of treat I had. My stomach was not okay after, but it was so worth
It's
it.
worth it, it's worth it.
So worth it.
That's amazing. So, I think a common experience for traveling is, like especially with a partner, is, like, discrepancies of flow or, like, the type of traveler you are. Would you say that you and your partner, Alex, are similar? Are you the heavy planner? Are you more go with the flow? What was that like?
She is very much the planner. I would just say she's if you think of someone who's type A, she's at the top of that camp. And
Yep.
I would usually put myself in that camp too, but when comparing to her, I don't think I am. So this was our first international trip together. So we learned that we are very good travel companions. Like she did all of the big travel stuff in advance, and then I did like boots on the ground stuff. So restaurants, bars, all that. And I think since we're both pretty well traveled humans, we actually bonded a lot over just like the recklessness that happens in airports. Like we even made like a whole list of like travel etiquette 101. And like the top of the list is like open mouth coughs. Like you would not, I came back so sick. Like I'm a little sick right now. I think I'm past it.
Where I see someone just like sneeze out into the wild, like not even in your arm or like in your hand. What? What?
On the plane, it was straight up sprinkler style. This girl sprayed her sneeze juice at me with such vigor that I could feel it bounce off my arm. And then I looked around and could still see it floating in the universe, in the airplane, in the
Ew!
condensed airplane,
Oh my God.
and proceeded to open mouth. Achoo!
I feel sick just listening to that.
And I don't know. I don't know what moves people to just be a complete menace to society. The moment you step in an airport, I'm now so stressed. I hate everybody. Everyone's in my way, and I'm complaining. Like, what is that about traveling?
It's the entitlement. I
Totally.
don't know. I want to add one thing that's like a little bit of the germy airplane thing is taking off your shoes and putting your feet on the armrest of the person in front of you. Like I love taking off my shoes too, but I have socks on for one, and I keep my feet under my seat. I don't put them on the person's arm in front of me. Just be respectful. Just be
Someone's
respectful.
putting their raw dogs on the person in front of them.
You've
See,
never seen that?
like
all the
bare
time.
raw dogs.
Oh, yeah. Like just feet out, flippity flopping. Oh, yeah. Gross.
No, put your toenails out. Nobody needs to see your toenails.
No, exactly.
I did full transparency. I took my shoes off. I'm a big
Yep.
shoes off person. You know what
You know what I
am
do?
a fan of?
I take
What?
my shoes off and I bring fuzzy socks because I want my feet to be snuggly and warm, but I don't want the restriction of the shoe.
And I think that that's a good germ tactic too, because then you could pop off those germy little fuzzy socks and put them in your backpack later.
Yep.
Yeah.
We
that's
digress.
And this is travel etiquette 101 because this is a great segue. Alex and I literally had the most belly laughs, like cackles, going through all the shit that people do in the airport that's just absolutely wild. I won't go through all of them because it really was like something, but some of the like the littlest things too, like just leaving the toilet seat up, like that's just etiquette 101. And then people not, I know you are going to lose your mind about this, but people like not washing their hands after using the bare bathport. What?
Oh my God.
Bathroom in the airport is crazy. Even if you go in the stall just to like change, you at least touch like 3 surfaces.
Not washing your hands after you go to the bathroom is so insane. Like that was like one of the most revolutionary healthcare moments in history of like between people dying at 70 and people dying at 25 was just hand washing. That was the number one thing that allowed us to survive as a society. And here we are, people like, I don't want to wash my hands. What?
And every person lived the pandemic. Anyone who is not washing their hands in the bathroom, you also got the education of sing the happy birthday and wash your fucking hands.
Yeah. And it's not about like touching yourself that's gross. It's about touching the surfaces that other people have urinated on, wiped their butt juice all over.
Here is a question I do have though, like, because in Europe, there's not a lot of toilet seat covers. Like, you won't find them. And then, so what do you do? Because there's like kind of 3 options. One, you do like the toilet paper, like makeshift. Then you got to like really quickly sit down before it falls off. Or there's option 2, which you just like hover and hope that you don't splash your pee everywhere. And then there's option 3 where you just like put your bare butt on the toilet seat. So what would you do?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't use those. So, because I'm not worried about my butt having germs. I'll just shower later.
I'm super nervous about my butt having germs. That kept me up at night a little bit on the trip, okay?
The poll is, are you someone that needs a toilet seat cover or do you care?
And I need to hear the answers to this because I every time was mixed. A couple more. When there's a resemblance of a multifamily garage sale, repacking and unpacking your 7-person family suitcases in front of TSA PreCheck, get out of the way.
Why is that always a thing? That's always a thing.
You knew your suitcase had to be 50 pounds or less. You've been knowing this. Is this your first time traveling?
You do be knowing.
Is this your first time on Earth? We need to know. Another thing?
It's like that meme that's floating around the internet. It's like there needs to be lines in the airport for people who have flown before and people whose first day on earth it is.
That is the entire tweet. That is the entire tweet. It's like people who sit and stand like it's a movie theater at the departures TV. It's like, that's not a parking lot. That's a
Yeah.
drive-by. You check,
Yeah.
you see your gate, and you get out of there. Like, it is crazy. But I will say the moms who travel with young kids are the unsung heroes of this society. Two things. One, you can decide if your kid's an asshole or not before you travel. You should make that decision. Two, I think that you showing your kids like a worldly perspective is an incredible thing to do. But seriously, if your kid's an asshole, like leave them at home. I have another thing. When someone is late for their connecting flight, what do you do in that scenario?
Like someone you're sitting next to,
Say you're late for your connecting flight
and I'm on the plane.
and we're on the plane and we just landed. What do you do?
Hey, excuse me, I have 5 minutes to get to my next gate. Do you mind if I scurry off ahead of you?
That's so polite. I would say, you know what? Yeah. However, when people are in the window seat and they're like, I gotta go, and they're shoving through you and then didn't ask the flight attendant. The appropriate response is, one, you ask the flight attendant, hey, we're late for our connecting flight. Can you help me get off first? They go over to
Yeah.
the overcom and they're like, everyone stay seated and then you can go. No, you do not get to push through and just say, we're late from all the way in 54B. No,
Yeah, there's
Okay.
probably a more adult way to handle it for sure.
I'll die on that hill.
Yeah. Let's shift topics a little bit. Let's talk about something that I think a lot of our listeners may empathize with or experience, which is the challenging mental state of letting go of the fitness routine or feeling like you fall off, or maybe you have bad body image moments. What was your relationship with food like over there? Did you feel any mental noise? Did you feel like, oh, I shouldn't have too many sweet treats? Or what was that like?
I went into the trip wanting to be like still fitness focused. And to me, that meant I wanted to prioritize the things that are kind of my cornerstone truths here, which we talked about. But I think the biggest issue for me is just, and it is always for travel, is just like the access, right? Like, where am I going to get some cooked chicken? That's just
Mm.
like simple and doesn't have added things. But honestly, the food itself in Greece was great. The body image stuff specifically, um, it was definitely an ebb and flow for me, and I
Mhm.
think it was also correlated to how many people were around, which was an interesting realization. Like, being on the boat, only us 3, like, prancing around, jumping in the water in my bikini, like, 24/7, like, didn't think anything
Okay.
of it. The
Yep.
moment we landed on an island and I saw other people, or I was,
Hmm.
like, having to choose what to wear to go out to dinner somewhere, like, that's where the noise kinda came in,
Mm.
and
Which is so funny because I feel like when people look at you, right, they're like, oh, Brie has the role model body that I may want. So to hear someone with the physique that a lot of people aspire for say, like, I too question my body, I think that kind of levels the playing field of like, no matter where you're at in your journey, like everybody experiences that noise and it can be really loud. And at the same time, a lot of that is in our own heads where we're being self critical. No one else is judging whether or not your little roll of skin is over your jeans when you sit down. No one else is worried about that.
That's a great point because there are a lot of times I will consciously not sit in positions, but, like, I'll see a roll in my body and not correct it. Like, that's been kind of my journey over the last, like, year with my body is, like, if I notice there's things that, like, I wanna hide, I'm not gonna hide them. But
Mm,
when it came to being in a country where nobody knows me and, you know, I do look a lot different from most of the people that were there. Even still, I felt insecure in my own body. I was like, "Man, like, I'm not as vascular, I haven't worked out in
mm,
a while," or, like, my glutes felt a little flat, and I was like, "Ugh, I'm in this, like, thong bikini, and I don't like how that looks." But the reality is that, like, most people are so intimidated that they won't say anything, but in the United States, most people, if they not most people, like, people will comment and be like, "Oh, like, you have nice arms." And that's, like, kind of the thing that people don't talk about, like, when you've gotten really lean and then maybe rebound back is the fear of people not acknowledging you as like, "Wow, you look amazing."
mm,
Which is, I don't know, kind of like a charmed thing to be anxious about, but it is. I was like, "Oh, do I compared to all these travelers, do I look like the fitness coach that I see myself as?" So it's less
yeah.
about really the body, but it was these thoughts of do I look like I'm good at my job, you know? And
Ex
that's something that's really riddled me for years, and you too,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I think there's so much pressure, whether it's internal or external, of like our physiques are often our business cards, right? Like if we gain a little weight or if I tend to look a little smaller because maybe I haven't been training as hard, the wheels start churning of like, okay, how is this going to be perceived by potential clients and friends and my peers, right? Where people might say, "Oh, well, if you were such a good trainer, you would just do this, this, and that." But like, that's not really the case, right? Like, we know logically there are seasons to every phase of life. Sometimes you're training really hard. Sometimes you're working on starting a business and your priorities shift, and that's okay. I think it's interesting because you're kind of touching a little bit on motivations, right? Where we have like intrinsic and extrinsic motivations. And there is tons of research. I didn't do my homework and provide this because this is kind of like off the cuff, but there's tons of research that supports intrinsically motivated goals is what keeps you more adherent. So when you're constantly like focused on those external motivators, like I need the validation of other people outside of myself to prove my worth, that's where we fall through the cracks. That's where we get disappointed. That's where we start playing that comparison game instead of saying, this is a different season of my life. It's okay that my body looks different than what it once did. And that's all right.
Because the intrinsically motivated person would say, "Oh, it's okay that I'm a little bit soft right now because I know where I'm at in this journey, in this plan."
Yeah.
However, the extrinsically motivated person is gonna be like, "Oh, I have to explain to people why I look soft. Oh, no, I'm just a little bit soft because 'cause I'm on a bulk right now. I'm bulking, I'm bulking. Oh, I just got back from vacation. Oh, that's okay, honey. Like, that's alright. You can be a little
Yeah.
bit fluffy." And I have definitely been in that trap, and even coming back, you know, I'm wanting to comment on my body to other people who don't give a fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. So did you have any body image challenges like getting back? Because I know after like 10 days being away, we tend to feel like fluffy and flat and not really good about ourselves. So I know you said there's a lot of body image challenges during the trip, but what about at the end and how did you recalibrate?
I felt my stomach was completely in disarray. So I looked like I was probably a couple months pregnant and had like a very distended stomach, like by the time we landed. And that absolutely like it did spiral me. Like when we landed, I got really, really anxious and I wasn't feeling very well and I was very jet lagged. And I was like, how am I going to manufacture a way for me to get to the gym right now? Like, because I was kind of freaking out. I was like, I do not want to look like this, especially going into work next week. And I got a presentation this week. So what I did was gave myself a little fucking grace, planned my meal prep. Alex and I meal prepped like not a whole thing, like just enough. Like we made a big dinner and then made enough for like the next 2 days, which was perfect. Um, we were really behind on our water intake. And so I focused a lot on water. I focused a lot more on like just making that night of sleep the best night of sleep it could be. So I wanted to go to the gym. I wanted to go like get my steps in and all this stuff. But I was like, no, the best thing I can literally do for both my body composition and my mind for the rest of this upcoming week is just to sleep. So I slept, I think like 10 hours, woke up the next day, went to work, and I actually did feel a lot better. So I did take some like GI support stuff and drank water and was able to sleep. But getting back to that first workout, I was like, I want to do a full leg day. I'm going to use all these carbs, put it all to rest or put all to work. And then I was like, no, girl, I don't want to blow out my back because the reality is that, like, being on the boat and walking on cobblestone, like our body really felt pretty shitty. And we'll get into that later. But so I just did like 3 sets of each movement pattern and did like a full body lift. Um, and then took like the last set to a myo set. So I gave myself a little bit of intensity on each one of the movements just on the last set and then just got like I don't know 10 or 12,000 steps that day. The next day, Monday, I had one of the best lower body workouts I've had in a long time. Like I think I did like 8 sets of hip thrusts cuz I just like kept adding and adding and I was like, "Wow, it feels so good."
Yeah, you had so much fuel to like
I had
give
so much
to your body.
fuel. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I put it to good use, and, I feel okay right now, like, I'm still, like, getting there, but,
Takes a
um,
little bit to shake the dust off.
yeah, it takes, like, for me, it takes about, like, a full week. Like, when I go
Yeah.
on a big trip, especially, like, a bachelorette party or, where you're eating different things, whatever, definitely a week. Like, do not judge yourself for an entire week until
Right.
you've had some water and sleep and regular time.
Yep. So how did this trip compare, if at all, to like, let's say one of your first trips in your earlier fitness days? Like maybe you spent a lot of the earlier fitness vacations stressing about what you ate or worried about how your body looked in a bikini. How did this trip differ?
Well, Alex and I kind of went into the trip knowing that Greece wasn't going to have a lot of gyms. Like, there just wasn't going to be a lot of access. And the hotel we stayed at in the bookends did have a gym. But the first day we were like, no, we're on vacation. And then the last day we were like, we are tired. So
Yeah.
we really didn't work out at all. And like, of course, I got a little creative on the boat. Like, I did some push ups, I did some, dips on these like little bars that we had and like played around, but like it was playful.
Yeah.
And, by day like 4 or 5 of not working out, like, I have a herniated disc, tears in my menisci, like, I'm kind of a broken person. My body was screaming, like, it was in
Mm,
so much pain, like, going downstairs, like, my knees were super swollen. So,
mm,
I really wish I would have trained, and not for body composition, but just so that my body felt good again. Like, we know,
yeah.
and, like, people listening to this know that resistance training is, in a way, a form of healing. It is a form of keeping your body feeling good, and by the end of the trip, like, I wanted so desperately to work out, and, I think if I were to have done it differently, I would have for the mornings that I actually ended up stretching, I think I stretched, like, 4 of the 7 mornings. I would have loved to have done, like, a little stretch and then, like, a little body weight stuff, and I said this after
Mhm.
Italy too, but I didn't do it then either.
Yeah.
But specifically doing some of, like, the plyometric stuff where it's just a different energy system than, the lackadaisical walking and all that,
Yeah.
which is great for NEAT and body composition size, but for, like, maintaining muscle tissue and maintaining, like, that kind of, like, dynamic feeling, things
Yeah.
definitely felt sluggish coming back, but now they feel fine and it's
Yeah.
all
And I
good.
think a lot of times when we're traveling or just time away from the gym, what happens is your muscles stop holding on to glycogen because it registers as like, I don't really need this fuel for energy. So I'm going to just go ahead and excrete it. And that's what makes us feel flat, right? When you go on vacation, maybe you feel fluffy. So even just doing like a couple rounds of bodyweight squats and push-ups and dips can really bring back that glycogen because you're adding demand to the muscle tissue. So then your body's like, okay, we need energy to keep this system working because we know muscle is metabolically expensive. We need energy for it to maintain itself. So even just
Right.
doing some little body weight stuff. And when we traveled for our honeymoon, that's what we did. We just did like a 15-minute body weight circuit in our hotel room. Doesn't matter. You don't need a lot of weight and you're good to go.
And it literally doesn't even matter what movements you're doing. Like,
Nope.
I love writing travel workouts for clients, like, that for the last 10 years has been, like, one of my favorite things, but it literally doesn't matter what you're doing. If you just
Nope.
pump some blood into your muscles, 1, they're gonna look a lot less flat. Like, by day
Yep.
2 or 3, I was like, all my muscles are gone, like, my shoulders don't
Yep.
pop through my shirts anymore," and it was like, no, like, they just didn't have any blood in them because they didn't need to, like you're
Yeah.
saying. Like, when we are at rest, a lot of the blood just goes to our gut because that's where a lot of the work is happening. But your blood doesn't really go and pump to your extremities unless it needs to for that
Right.
recovery, and I think your idea of the 15-minute circuit where maybe you add in a little hot start, like some jumping, some bounding, and then just like some close to failure body weight sets. Like,
Mhm.
it could be like a wall sit, it could be jump squats, it could be just like lunge pulses, but something that's like challenging but not long. And I
Yeah.
think we would have gotten a lot more out of that from both a physiological level from the nutrition side, but then also just from like the identity alignment piece where by day 4 or 5, I was like, "Is it weird to have a martini at 9?" And it's like, "Yeah, that's weird." Like, you need to not like, I need to just still have, like, a sense of, like, normalcy because I'm so, like, busy here. I always feel like there's always so many people to respond to or something to respond to that I'm not as present in the moment with people when I meet them. And
Mm.
that was actually a huge learning for me in this trip because I've become increasingly busy in the last year, like, basically having 3 jobs, like, there are at least 30 people in each one of those, like, things that feel like I need to respond to or talk to. It gave me this, like, feeling of I could be where my feet were. Like
Mm,
when I went to the coffee shop, I made eye contact with the barista. Hi, how are you? Cool. What's good here? Like those types of conversations because
mhm.
I was genuinely so interested in like, who is this
Yeah.
person? Why am I not doing that here at Starbucks? You know,
I think we're
like,
just so used to being on our phones and in screens, and we try to connect with people over the screens, but then it doesn't feel authentic, and then we
no.
lose how to interact with people in the wild. It's a strange thing. So that's such like a blissful feeling. Like I wish
And
that
it
I could
has
have
stayed
that.
with me. It stayed with me a bit, you know? Like, I think about how much time like, the other day, I picked up my phone and the phone case was still warm, and I'm like, "You're disgusting. Like,
Yeah.
why am I always on my phone? Put your fucking phone
Yeah.
down. Like, let it cool off," literally. But I think it was that. Like, I did keep my phone in my bag most of the time. We had, like, nice cameras that we were taking pictures with and whatever. So being not with my phone and just like not having it directly in my hand, but also like just the curiosity of who is this human being? And I think I myself have actually lost sight of that a little bit since moving to Chicago and just being like a busy person. Like
Mhm.
I have always been the type of person where like I want to know about you. Like what makes you tick? What do you think about? Like what are you scared of? Like what makes up your life? What do you nerd
Yeah.
out on? Like I'm a
Yeah.
genuinely curious person about other people. And I think some of the identity that I've lost over this like move or like I was missing was that is just like being present, being with people and so much anxiety and stress that we all feel, especially as women, it brings us out of our bodies kind of. And we're just like
Mhm.
running at this like really fast pace, da, 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 but we don't actually like sink back in. And so I think that's a huge, huge thing that I would like listeners to listen to and also myself is like, we need to work together on this. We need to work
Yeah.
together in holding each other accountable to putting the phone down. And even
Right.
if it's, your barista at Starbucks, like that person has a story. That person is interesting. They have a life. Like you're meeting that person. Like, why do I have to be in Europe to be curious and be excited to meet somebody?
One of my peeves in life is when you start talking to someone and they look like they're listening and then they pick up their phone and you're like, can I tell you this like uninterrupted, please? Like, even if you say that you're listening, you're not fully present to that conversation. So, this is the challenge. If someone is in front of you and it's just you and one other person, put the phone down, make eye contact, be present with that conversation. We can all
Yeah.
be a little better about that.
It's really a matter of can this text get responded to later? And can this conversation ever that I'm having with this person ever happen again?
Hmm.
Because texting has become so invasive. Like
Yeah.
the expectation to respond right away, we didn't, texting was meant to be a, hey, I'm going to leave this here, get back to it when you can. And if you're
Right.
listening to this and you're one of my friends, I am leaning so much more into if you want to talk to me, let's do some voice memos.
Hmm.
If you want to talk to me, let's hop on the phone.
Yeah, just
Even
pick
if,
up the phone and call. Like, we talk about this a lot where it's like, "Oh, I wanna just chat with you. Let's schedule a call." It's like, "Just call me. Just
yeah,
call me. If I'm available, I'll answer, and if I'm not, I'll call you back." Like, that's
yeah.
the point of notifications.
And you can even say, like, hey, I saw you called me. I'm really busy, but I have 5 minutes at 6 p.m. Can we just check in about our days? And like, I think I get stuck sometimes because I feel like I have to give so much to people because I'm like, oh, we haven't chatted in a while. We haven't caught up. It's like, you don't need to like have a podcast with every person. Like, you just need to have a couple minutes and say, hey, I think about you and you
Yeah,
matter to me. So I think that
right.
was a big part of it too, is like some of the guilt that I felt about just being so busy and not present for my people. Like,
Mhm.
I could see who I wanted to text while I was away. I could see who I naturally was like, "What's Kelsey up to today? Like, how's her mind today?" Like, just because 'cause you're my person, like, you're one of my people, you know? But I wasn't texting everybody, and it doesn't mean those people aren't important, but it's like, when this person is in front of me, I need to put my fucking phone down.
Well, I will tell you, I felt the void of Brie over 10 days.
"Did you?
Yes.
Oh my goodness." That's funny
Was
because usually I'm a big texter, but
yeah,
even you,
no.
you were, like, one of the main people I even stayed in contact with.
Yeah, I was like, "I need my face-to-face Brie time. Let's do a podcast recording." Okay, let's transition to getting back home because I think a lot of our listeners going to go into that spiral of like, "I just went on vacation. I feel like shit about myself. I don't know how to get it back on track. I think I'm just gonna like eat nothing and work out really hard." What was the reentry like? What was the very first thing that you did as soon as you got home from the airport?
We went right to the grocery store. We went to Mariano's. hot bar, got some lunch for that exact moment because we were starving, and
So
then
it's
got a couple.
already pre-made.
Yeah, pre-made. Yep, exactly. So we got picked up from the airport, drove right to Mariano's, the grocery store. We went to the hot bar, got like a pre-made kind of like some chicken and some rice and just like basic stuff. Grabbed a couple things from the store and then just went directly home and like started cooking our dinner. Actually, we went for a walk and then started cooking dinner because I was like my body's really hurting. So we did a little movement, cooked dinner, and then tried to go to bed as early as possible. The one thing that I will say that I've learned from traveling is if you have a quick turnaround, like you're coming home on a Sunday and you gotta work on a Monday, use things like Instacart, even putting things like pre-cooked meals in the freezer for you, because we did that before we left. We put like 6
Mhm.
meals, pre-cooked meals in the freezer and then pulled them out, that night. So then we had lunch for Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. That's a very advanced tip. If you can do that, I'd be very impressed with you guys. Alex is just good at that. The other thing that I did was I got myself organized. So
Mhm.
even though I had like 60 emails times three to respond to, I at least like made sure when I opened up my computer, all my tabs were closed. Like I had like a fresh computer to come to. I also wrote out my agenda for the week. So something that really gets me stressed out, especially coming back from vacation, is like I don't know how much is waiting for me when I get back. So on flight home, I spent just 15 minutes looking at like basically what was coming up for the week. And I even planned something silly like what I was going to wear, like like planned, put in my Google Calendar like this is the transition time between these and these things. So then when Monday came and Monday was fucking busy. Like I worked nonstop from like 7 to like basically 7. Um but I
But you
didn't feel
probably had a flow list.
Yes, I had a flow, and literally I had a little Post-it note that was on my desktop on my computer, and I just crossed things off as I went, and I think just, like, that little bit of self-preparation really saved me, and then by Wednesday, like, I was pretty tired, like, I was pretty just, like, done,
Yeah.
so I planned today, Thursday, to have a rest day, and so Alex asked me, "Are you gonna work out in the morning?" And I was like, "No." So this morning, I did a ton of life admin stuff, and so now
Yeah.
it feels like it's a refresh for the second half of the week, and I
I love
also
that.
will meal prep today. I know you and I talk about this a lot, but meal prepping on a second day of the week, especially around summertime when there's a lot going on, there's a lot of, like, temptation to be out, having a meal prep day on Wednesday or Thursday is going to be your best friend. Even if it's not like a full prep day, you're like just bulk prepping like a bunch of protein, that's going to save you. Because how many times on Saturday you're like, oh, what should we do today? And you're like, well, we don't have any food in the house. Let's go to breakfast. Let's go to lunch. Let's go. And now you're like in this spiral. But
Now you're
having
3
like a,
meals deep.
yes, you're 3 meals deep and like high fat, high processed shit you didn't really even want. But having at least your breakfast and lunch kind of planned for me for like the weekend is going to be a big game changer for sure.
Yeah. So what's the elevator pitch of what you would tell someone who's getting home from vacation and feeling like they need to make up for what they did or what they ate or what they missed?
Well, first things first, we talked about glycogen, right? So just get back into the gym and don't go in with the expectation that it's going to be easy. Go in with the expectation that weights are going to feel a little bit heavier and a little bit harder, and you're not going to be hitting the same exact weights you left off with. But what I do expect you to do is focus all your attention on mind muscle connection and the time under tension that you're putting. So if you do tempo work in your training, like really go into that. Um, the other part is like, what about cardio? Like, I feel super fluffy. I want to do cardio. I do suggest you all sweat. So, not go into like a crazy hit class, but like if you can sauna, steam room, great. But if you can do like a little like aerobic steady state flow in zone 2, that is really going to catapult your inflammation response to help you with some of the lymphatic drainage. And I think that with that, because our body just felt so icky and tight, like, I didn't really want to train, and so part of me was like, "Oh, I'll take a rest day, maybe I'll do yoga." It's like, "No, get to the resistance training, okay? But do it in a way that your body feels good because
Yeah.
that's where you're gonna use the excess glycogen that you have floating around. You're also gonna set yourself up better for training, and also, you're gonna get a little bit more of that, like, dopamine feeling of, like, doing something hard than just, like, going and walking on the treadmill. For a lot of us who are been training a while, it doesn't really give you that same dopamine hit. And so
Yeah.
coming off of a big trip where you're like absolutely in oxytocin and serotonin, like you may feel a little like sad. And so I think it's good to
And I
lift.
will say, like, training your discipline and consistency is also like training a muscle. When you have those thoughts of like, I don't want to do this, when you show up anyway, regardless of that, I don't want to do this, that's where you get the feelings of pride for the choices that you make. That's what keeps you going. And that's what keeps the momentum building and ultimately where you see progress. Last question before our outro. How do you think that we can incorporate some of this rest and full presence into our regular life?
Let's all just start with acknowledging that cortisol, your stress hormone, is meant to be high in the morning. It's not meant to be so high that you are freaking out and getting agitated and anxious. I did not know that. So, getting into this next kind of season of me, I am going to risk not feeling so productive in the morning so that I can kind of like slowly raise my stress versus like when I wake up in the morning and I check my phone and I see all the things that I haven't done yet. Instead, giving myself like literally just 5 minutes to whether it's read my book or just like snuggle with my dog and just like get my presence and my bearings first. Like that is the number one thing that I'm going to do. Even as I'm saying it, I'm like, no, I'm not. That sounds so hard.
Yeah.
Like it's still a work in progress for me. But I'm committed to it. The second part is I have been having a lot of panic attacks over the last 2 years, and I haven't gone down the SSRI route or all of that because I really do feel like I can control it. So what I've been doing is playing with like in the moment breath work. Like when someone literally who's stressing me out is talking to me, I will do like an inhale, double inhale, and then a long exhale. Like they can't really see it, but in the moment, I might do that. Secondly, Alex and I had like some little fights, like some little like quips. And that's normal to happen when you've been spending nonstop time with people. This year, I am leaning into my time is mine and setting very clear boundaries. It's very easy to be
Yes.
distracted in the modern American world, but giving myself the grace to just like go outside for 5 minutes when something's stressful. Like I
Yeah.
spent so many days inside in the winter in Chicago that it's a blessing to just go outside without your phone and just like experience the birds, experience the sky. Like, there's this 5 4 3 2 1 trick that I learned where it's like identify 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can feel, 3 things that you can, yada yada.
Oh, yeah.
And that even just having some of those cornerstone things where they proved to work when I was on vacation where there were no variables, and now same thing as if we were to implement any lifestyle habit, I'm noticing how willing I am when more variables come in. And so far I'm 3 days and I'm doing pretty good.
I love that. Here's the homework assignment for only the baddies that are willing to do the work. The homework assignment is as soon as your eyes open in the morning, whether it's an alarm or you wake up naturally, keep a journal by your bed. The first thing you grab is the journal. Even
Yes.
if you write down, I fucking hate this. This is the dumbest homework assignment I've ever heard in my entire life. I just want you to open the journal instead of opening your phone. Write down whatever's on your mind. If you had a crazy dream, write it down. If it's the 5 4 3 2 1, where you're writing 5 things that you see, 4 things that you feel, 3 things that you smell, go down the trick. Just
One
write
thing that
that
you
down. And
Yep.
then as soon as you're done with that, you can open your phone. You can open your emails. That's the homework assignment.
I love that. And I will also double down on it because bookends in the evening time, if you are someone who wakes up at 3 a.m., panicked and stressed, use that same journal and brain dump everything that's going to possibly freak you out or stress you out during the nighttime because that is
Oh, yeah.
now your to do list for the next day. You don't
Oh,
have
yeah.
to worry about it at 3 a.m.
Yep. You're giving it, you're saying this is important, but it's a later problem.
Thank you
Well,
so much for all these questions about Greece. It felt so good
yeah.
to finally like talk about it. So I really appreciate you,
Yeah, I feel
going
like
through
this was
that.
a really good episode, very insightful for all of our listeners. I think that everybody can relate to this experience when traveling.
And I bet
It
a lot
sounds
of the listeners here are probably going to have some fun weddings or trips coming up. So seriously, ask us questions. I'm like this girl who studied abroad in high school and can't stop talking about it. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments.
I think this episode was really powerful, and if you guys have any hacks or tricks that you think are helpful for you getting back into your fitness routine, comment them below. Let other listeners in on the tips.
And I want to give you guys a very exciting heads up. So we haven't decided when she will be coming on the podcast, but Yesterday, I got to present on a women's longevity panel with the director of education for Stanford Lifestyle Medicine. Her name is Dr. Rachel, and her research focuses on nutrition, exercise physiology, muscle science, longevity, specifically on women's health. So, we are going to have a very unique opportunity to ask the person who is like very much in the research of women's health. So, if there is anything that you guys want us to have her cover, we're thinking we're going to talk more about like perimenopause, menopause to give you guys some insight on that. But if there's anything specific from a researcher you've been dying to ask, her work's been featured on the New York Times, NPR, Time Magazine, and she agreed to come on the podcast. So we'd love to hear what things are exciting to you guys right now. Maybe just leave us a comment in this episode.
And as always, connect with us on Instagram at overt_thinking podcast, at Brianna Lamb, at Kelsey Michelle, and we will see you
In the next
episode.